There we go. So through our conversation, Douglas, about submissions and everything like that, I forgot that this coming Monday was Memorial Day, right?
Yeah, I actually looked. The submission day is the 31st. So
Yeah. Is it set for Tuesday or is it set for
it's set for 11:59 Monday night.
Monday? Okay. I'm going to switch that to Tuesday. For everybody. So, just to give you that little bit extra time, I totally forgot that the date was there. And I'm not a fan of moving it forward, except for if it's a long break, I'll move it forward. But if it's a, short little thing like Memorial Day, then I'll push that back there. So that's what we'll do.
So it's going to be due Tuesday night then?
Yeah, it'll be Tuesday night. Now, with that, and something I want to talk about is, sometimes I'll get word from instructors because I think your new classes start Tuesday. So if you're in class, I don't want to hear anybody go, oh, well, I was working on CMF stuff, so I didn't get to work on my stuff for this class. I have talked with instructors that are ahead of me, and I've told them if anybody gives them that excuse to email me their name, and I'll hit their professionalism. That extra time isn't, oh, well, you have to finish this class, so you get the extra time in the next class. They'll work with you. That is just a little bit of extra time for you to dot your I's, cross your T's, and make sure that things are ready to go for the submission. So just want to make sure we're clear on that, and we'll go from there. But yeah, so you will see that change happen, hopefully tonight, something like that. You'll see that deadline change. Yeah, trying to think if there's anything. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about grading, and a conversation came up on Discord about effort and instructors grading off of effort and why that doesn't happen more. And, it brought me back to when I was a student and here, right? There's a difference between when you're a student at, some other school, a regular traditional school, and then you're a student at an art-based school. Effort that's not what things are graded on, unfortunately. At the end of the day, there can be a team, hundreds of people working on a movie, and they could be putting in hour after hour after hour. And if the movie stinks, it stinks. If it bombs at the box office, no one's going to go, well, they probably worked really hard on that, so I'm going to go see it anyway. At the end of the day, there has to be a viable product. I know a lot of times I put a lot of effort into things, and it just didn't work, right? There's also times when you'll be one of 5 modelers that are working on a specific element for a scene, and it may not even be picked to go in the scene. They're just looking for stuff. They're looking for stuff so they can make choices on. And that doesn't mean that effort was wasted, but there's no payoff at the end. You know what I mean? So if you're thinking that way, unfortunately, in this type of school, in this type of learning environment, it's not just about your effort. It's about the product that comes out of that effort. Still has to be something that meets requirements, shows that you know the tools, shows that you know the processes, the ideas, the techniques. And it has to be visible or understood by other people. You might think, well, I really understand all this stuff. My product didn't come out all that well, but I understand it. I'm going to tell the instructor that I understand what I'm doing, but, had issues creating something that showed that. It has to be in that product. That end result, that asset is what tells us that you do understand. So just kind of want to remind everybody, that was a hard thing for me to get over, because I remember I put in so many hours on stuff. And like I said, sometimes it didn't work. And I said, I worked really hard. And I had to remind myself that this is not that kind of environment. It just isn't, unfortunately. I wish there could be something like that. But again, then you run into the people that say they're always busy. Uh-oh, here she goes. Let me put my mask on. Oh my goodness. No vest either. It's comes in late and no vest on vest vents. Terrible. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just giving you a hard time. I have my vest left in the car. That's right. We started late anyway. So, as far as that goes, just try and remind yourself there, it's not just, you can work really hard, super hard on something. And if it doesn't come out the way it's supposed to, that is what it is. Okay. And if anybody has any questions about that stuff, you want to talk about that stuff later on, I'm always open to help you go through this full cell environment, being somebody that did go through it, and have been living here, basically seeing students go through it for the many, many years. I can maybe help you understand, better how this stuff goes, or find a better pathway to get the stuff done. So, but yeah, just wanted to kind of go over that again. Like I said, there was an interesting discussion about that. It kind of was like, oh, you know what, maybe something worth talking about. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, to add to that too. I was just in a Zoom meeting for they do that Zoom meeting every Wednesday. I can't think of what it's called, but they look at your portfolios and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Uh-huh.
And that was my first time going in, and like they are very, like, not to be brutally honest, but they are, and it's good. And like, if any classmates haven't like been in there, you should look, because you can see the quality that they're looking at and stuff that we to get a job and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's we can leave a little bit to, well, I'm learning, and that's why the expectations are where they're at, and that's why when you look at a class like this and you go, okay, well, oh my goodness, I got an A. Does that mean I'm a character modeler? No. I mean, you're an A right now at this current state, doing it for the first time. And being honest, some people just, they have a hard time with that. So it is really good, one, to see that honesty, because again, going into Full Sail, if anybody sold you this school as a regular school, we just don't have a lot of time to beat around the bush with things. It's either your stuff is good or it's not good. And we don't spend a lot of time. I don't spend a lot of time on the, hey, this looks really good. I don't like compliment sandwich. To me is, I'm going to remember the first thing you said and the last thing you said. That stuff in between, that's the meat, right? And that's usually what gets forgotten or overlooked, because they're like, well, I ended on a positive note, started positive and ended positive. I guess we're good. So yeah, I think that's great that you're going to those, and anybody else, get into those sessions, because yeah, they'll be honest, and you'll see what it's like. I mean, again, on production, sitting in a daily, and they don't have time to tell you what they love. They're just going to say, well, this is wrong, this is wrong, fix this. Yes. I mean, yes, they will point out things that are working, but it's going to be more of, how do we make it better? Let's talk about that, kind of stuff. So, also, I'm glad you go to those, so hopefully more people will go to that. Yay. It's the Wednesday portfolio review. It's reviews, right? It's not the portfolio like they're looking at portfolios, but they're just doing portfolio reviews.
Yeah, I think they're doing portfolio reviews and stuff. They first talked on resumes, because Epic just posted some internships and stuff that are paid and everything. So they were saying like how to develop a good resume, and then they were looking at portfolios. And like Tony, I don't know how you say his last name, Chiaro or something like that. He's pretty blunt about this stuff, and he's like, I'm sorry if this is coming out mean, but I just don't like he was talking about someone's, and he's like, I think you just need to remove that out of your portfolio.
Yeah. Well, everybody, they have an emotional connection to their work, and that's great, but if it's not good, don't put it on your reel. You want to grab the attention, because as soon as they see something they don't like, you've pretty much lost them. They don't want to, they're just focused on that. I'd rather see somebody with two amazing pieces than, and you've heard this all before, if you've gone to any of the talks and any of the stuff, and I know it's been hard because of, the COVID stuff, but they say the same stuff every year. For the 18 years, I've heard the same statement: put your best work in there. If it's not the best, get rid of it. I'd rather see a really high quality asset than 5 mediocre assets, and that kind of stuff. So tell a story with your work. Don't be a jerk. That kind of verbiage. So it's really good when somebody says it has that ability to be honest with you and go from there. So yeah, that's cool. Where are the links for that? Are they being posted on Discord, or are they being posted? Do you get that through Full Sail One?
I got an email.
An email?
Yeah.
Ooh, list.
It was in my personal email too. It wasn't like my school email.
Whoa. They might be blanketing all of the because
I got it from
get
Full
primary
Sail
email and your secondary email. So I'm wondering if they're
Yeah, I got it from it was from Full Sail Career
career development.
Dev. Yeah.
Development. Okay.
But I guess they do it every Wednesday. I didn't know because I was like, in the future, what's the right channel to reach out to you guys? And he said, oh, we do this every Wednesday.
Oh, that's cool.
And they have one for game animation and game art, and then they have one for programming, game design and development.
Very cool.
I could see if I can copy the link to the Zoom and add it to the chat.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Very, very cool. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff out there, and sometimes it's overwhelming that there's just so many links and discussions and stuff like that. But you know, try and get to all of them. Try and get to all of them. Don't be the person that says you're busy but aren't really busy, right? We used to have this group of students that, you know, they were pretty talented, but they always talked about how busy they were. They were always so busy, but then you always saw them outside in front, in the lobby, chatting about stuff, eating pizza in the break area. And you're like, what are you busy? Or you just feel like you're busy because you're here? You know, being here and then being here, busy here is different, you know, kind of thing. So, but you know, they could stand to be a little lax because you know, their work was good. So, yeah, if you're saying you're busy, make sure you're actually busy. There's no password. Okay, I remember there was the one that just came. Oh, that was for something else, and it said please use the password. It was to some discussion that they were having. So cool. Awesome. All right, so today we're gonna, you know, I thought, well, if we got this extra time, you know, one thing I would like to talk about is correcting topology. We talked about great topology and putting it together, and the stuff we came up with in the demonstration the other day turned out really nice. But I remembered an example from last month. So I grabbed this from a submission last month, and just kind of want to run through it because this has a lot of very classic things that we see issues with. And some of them are right out of the gate things that I said, don't do this and don't do that. You know, so, you know, of course, time, we don't know if these were just gloss overs or if it was something where like, hey, that's what it has to be because time, I'm running out of time. But tell me, what do you notice wrong with this? Use the 4 things that we talked about, if you remember them. Use the 4 things we talked about to evaluate what's there, and you know, throw a couple things in the chat there. What do you see that would be an issue? And I'll scan around the head. Let me get rid of the high res. Put that all there. What are you noticing? You notice anything? It looks awesome. Think it's great. Because if you can't see it on this, you're not going to see it on your own work.
I don't really like the lines that are forming at the corners of his mouth going all the way around his head.
Yeah, okay, so this is a classic banding, right? We've got that band. Okay, so one, that just sticks out as what's going on there. I mean, when you're back here, it's one of the first things you notice, right? Look out here, I mean, you just see that band. So that's definitely one. What else? Star junction right here. Yeah. Remember I said we don't want to have a star junction.
Yeah, it's a big star junction.
right? Okay, so that's star junction. That's, I'd put that on my notes as things to correct. What else? Band on his nose a little bit. Yep. Not enough geo to hold the eye shape. Yeah, I would agree. I feel like, you know, some of these are really pooled. So we might not have enough geo there to really hold an eyelid line or even some of the shapes from the bridge of the nose out.
Looks like the spacing isn't, consistent. Like that eye, like right going into the eye, everything's real close. And then like the top part of the eye and the eyelid is like spread out more. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, so this is, if you remember, we talking about one of the things was density and parameterization. So parameterization, if you look at and you start evaluating these closer areas, one, you'll notice a density issue here, and it literally starts and stops, right? There's like an obvious spacing difference between this stuff here and then the stuff next to it. But as we get into some of these bands and some of this stuff here, we're noticing a parameterization issue, where it's no longer looking like a quad. It's kiting. It looks like a rectangle, which is still a quad, but it's not looking like a cube, I should say, or a square. Square. That's the word I was looking for. Right? It's not really looking like a square.
0.25.
What?
It doesn't look like 0.25.
Yeah, it doesn't look 0.25.
You wrote down 0.25.
Yes. Isn't there supposed to be a hole for the nostrils? Yeah, there should be. Right, so you can see this is glossed over, just kind of stretched and pulled. Right, erratic edge flow. Remember we talking about edge looping and edge flow? This is very aggressive. It's such a linear point, faceted. Some of this could be just spacing, right? If we just glossed over it with a nice, a relax, it might fix some of this and make it not so noticeable. But right now, as it sits, is very noticeable. Do we have a radial for around the mouth? Not at all.
No.
This is common, very common. What happens here is the geometry gets, I don't even know. This looks almost deliberate, but all this geometry should funnel into the corner of the mouth.
There's a lot of triangles right there too.
Yep, a lot of triangles. Now I said that 1 or 2 is not bad, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's like 11 right there, 12, 13, 14, 15, right? So there's a lot just in this area. Too many, something we want to get rid of. And again, it could have been nudging stuff around and it all, grabbed together. That's why you have to be careful. You got to zoom in on your stuff. Okay, what about shape? Right, we talked about we need geometry for shape. How do you think that chin's holding up? Yeah, it's not at all. I mean, we need at least 1, 2, possibly 3 edges through there to really hold that shape. These edges up here could have been pushed and funneled down to here, right? So when you're looking at an error or you notice an error, look around it and see if there's something happening somewhere else that could help you fix the error that you're viewing. So here we don't have enough geometry. Here we have too much geometry. Maybe if what I call trading edges, when I have edges connected, I can almost like railroad track switchers trade their connection, and that'll open up a different pathway for the edges to go in some cases. So possibly we can get into that. But when you start looking at it, it starts to fall apart. We're missing a lot of stuff up here in the head. So we're going to look at, how do we fix stuff like this? Okay, there's a lot of stuff going on here. How do we correct it? How do we make it better? Because being able to identify it, that's one part of this procedure. Then it's how do we manage it? How do we fix it? First is prioritization. I would definitely always prioritize what I need to fix. The banding and density stuff, that can very easily be a relax and fix there. The loops that are broken, right? The loop around the nose, we don't have any custom topology. You can see they were trying to put in some custom stuff around the nostril there, but it looks like it fell apart. So looks like we're going to go, I would fix my main loops. I would definitely fix the radial on the mouth. I would fix the geometry around the eye and the center line, and I'd change some of the stuff around the nose. That would be my first go-to. And then everything else may fall into place as I start moving things around. So not going to ignore them, but I'm definitely going to look at it and say, okay, if those don't get fixed as I rework some of these areas, those would be things I would want to look at. Okay, so yep, this it's hurting pretty good. You know, at first glance, we've got some good stuff going on, but I think the more we look at it, the worse it gets. So let's take care of it. And we'll pick up hopefully some techniques on how to go about fixing it. Now, this was resized, so the model doesn't really line up anymore anyway. I feel like things had been moved. So you're going to see some things update as I start pushing things. And this is common. It's just, I don't know what scales. They'd already frozen transforms on them, and I don't have their actual build scene. So I'm trying to make do with what we got here. So I'm going to lock it down again. Let me go ahead and freeze the transforms on that. Quad draw. We'll go ahead and do symmetry. It might give us some issues, but we'll go with that. Okay, so first let's take care of this guy here. All right, it's staring me in the face, and I got to get rid of it. All right, so the first thing I think is, look at this kind of, it's kind of how we used to draw birds at the beach, right? You'd draw your seagulls in the distance with that little W. This is very common. When you connect one side of the head with the other side of the head, we tend to get this sharp line there. It shouldn't be that sharp. So that's one of the other things there. And if you're moving geometry around and kind of pushing and pulling, you will see that we don't need this. This I think was they were trying to get too much done with too low res of topology, and I think that's where it started falling apart. So I'm going to go ahead and just relax some of that. I'm going to bring it back to what it should, what feels better, I guess. Not what it should be, but let's get it feeling less stressed. And look over here. As soon as I hit that, you see how much that moves? That means it's just too much going on there. And you also notice that as I move geometry, what's cool is it's kind of updating to the surface, kind of shrink wrapping there, which is a good thing to note, because this is how we can size different models to different shapes and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and let me see here. Okay. All right, now see, I gotta remind myself, what was my main goal out of the gate here? It wasn't to work on the eye, it was to work on the center line. So I gotta look at my list of to-dos and go, stop it. Stop it, I gotta stay on task. Because I will keep, all right, whew, get out of there. All right, so now we're ready to start bringing this back. And we just want a clean center. Much better. Now, I would say, I think I would rather run one of these edges through the center, something like this. Oops, what? Interesting. That is really interesting. I don't know what happened there. And it looks like it's going to keep it that way. Okay, there we go. Either way, it's working. I always like to have a buffer, right? So sometimes I'll talk about buffer geometry, and there'll be a center line, and then I like to have an edge just left and right of it, right? That allows me to shape over here, and I know that because when you shape and then you smooth, your shape changes will average 3 points out. So if I move this, my shape will be seen all the way out to here and sometimes further past that. So this helps kind of soften that change. But you just by some simple moves, we went ahead and really made that look better, feel better. Okay. And as far as things go, we can throw in a couple extra to help even things out. And if you do that, make sure that you smooth. Don't forget soft select. Always good. You can see it going, what's up here? It's because the models are not lined up anymore. So I'm just smoothing through, and you'll notice that it's just naturally going to snap into place. Maybe, except for that back there. I might have to fix that. I might have to fix that by hand. Put it on my list of things to do, and then keep moving. All right, so now that we've got the center part of the brow and everything taken care of, I'm going to move to the outside. And same thing, I'm going to go ahead and move this geometry. And then I like to pop a hole into the surface. This allows me to be a little bit more diligent with adding in an edge where I think I might need one without it ripping through the head and then me not knowing what to do with it. You'll also notice that if I didn't evaluate and come up with some things that are wrong, I wouldn't feel confident just adding in extra edges. But because we spent that time saying, well, the density here is different than the density up here, that allows me to just go, okay, I know I can throw in an edge or two, possibly 3 up here and not hurt really anything, because we're going to need it anyway to help things feel a little bit more in line with each other. So that's why you got to, don't just get in there and go, oh, something's wrong, let me go ahead and fix it. You got to really know how you're going to go about it, what your goal is. Have that pathway. Take away your guesswork. Okay, corner of the eye is feeling a little jumbled up. I mean, I was just kind of moving things around, so. I think we're going to get some funkiness here. There we go. Oh, look at that. So this is going to be very similar to what's happening in the mouth. And one of the easiest ways to fix that is just kind of, again, pop a little hole in there, add your edges, and then fill it back in. I don't want that to come offline too much. Okay. Now, another thing is if I see a bunch of craziness, I do like to simplify. I like to what I call gut. Even if I'm going to add an edge in again, if I get rid of it and that helps me see what I need to do a little better, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and gut that area out. Just help. I'm not a fan of this zig. You see the edge flow here. We're kind of crossing each other. I am going to keep it for now, just for time purposes. I might, maybe. I think I just saw something. That's not gonna work. I already have one there. Ugh. Ugh. I don't like it, but I'm going to make it work. The other thing you'll notice when I'm cleaning up geometry is I don't always delete, right? I'll do a combination of adding and deleting. I'll get rid of some edges, I'll add some edges. This kind of gives me a balance to kind of what I'm going with. This also helps me not destroy the surface too quickly, right? Because I'm adding a little bit, I'm taking away, and again, it kind of balances itself out. If you're always adding, your model ends up way too dense, too quick. And if you're always taking away, the model goes the opposite direction. It never has enough geometry. Go ahead and relax some of that. You can see with just a little bit of smoothing, that line there, that band doesn't feel too bad. Okay, so it's not ideal, but I'm gonna run with it. I'm gonna run with it because, you know, at the end of the day, we got to move forward. We got to keep going. Just got to remember to come up here and smooth some of this stuff out. Now, if anybody's beginning to panic, I'm seeing a little bit of panic in people's work, and it's making them do certain things that we don't want to get into. If you begin to panic and you think, well, I'm just going to Z-remesh the head and submit that for my resurface. That's a quick way to a 0. And Z-remesher, no matter what you do with it, there's still characteristics of the way it lays out topology and patterns that will be visible in the mesh. Okay, so you know, don't do that. All right, talk to me first. Figure out maybe another strategy. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do some custom stuff around the nose here. Let's go ahead and take care of that. Now, all of this stuff, how do I know how to fix it? How do I know what to do with it? Yes, I can use these and say, well, that edge is too aggressive. It's not flowing nice with the shape. But what am I always reverting to as far as patterns? You know, how do I know, okay, we'll just loop it like this? What do you think allows me to do that? It was something that I said in the beginning. It was actually lecture 1, and it was the helpful hints for the month. Study wireframes. Remember that? I've built hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of structures. I've troubleshot them, fixed them. So I know a basic ocular cavity loop or a muzzle loop or something for around the nose. So how do you do it? How should you go about this? Well, I would go, man, I don't know really what I should do here around the nose. I'm not sure what I can get away with. Let's see. Topology for human nose. Let's see what we get. Holy moly. Would you look at that? There are images of topology for a human nostrils section. What? That's crazy. Who knew the internet would be so helpful? Okay. Oh, look at this one. This one's new. That doesn't really, they are sweeping around. That's a little bit funky there. So this proves you, just because you find something online doesn't mean it's the end all be all. Some of this stuff here, I'm not sure what they're doing there. I mean, it's pretty easily fixed with some of this other stuff, but you know, there's some decent stuff. What is that? Why would they have a junction fired right into another junction? That's silliness right there. I just open those up and run them together. But there is a lot of good stuff in here. This is a nice basic layout. You can probably find other images for that. Here's a nice buildup. There's a really good imagery here. It's really high res though. You get into this, you're gonna end up with a higher res face overall. But there is a lot of reference for you to follow. There was a lot of bad reference for you to follow, and there's a lot of good reference for you to follow. Just evaluate it, okay? If I can look at this geometry and go, well, the density is pretty good. Looks like they have custom stuff for the shapes or the face, so they're getting shape in there. The edge flow is nice and smooth. Maybe I can follow it. Oh man, that's like a super old, showing why geometry on the corner of the mouth is important. And yeah, I don't think you're going to find stuff that is perfect, but it's better than just going solo like this here. Oh, this is an old model. Actually, this was from one of the most realistic models that we had seen back in the day, and it was all done in Maya. And they, when you're in Maya and you're not sculpting, and when you can't use 500,000 polygons, you really had to do some interesting things to push shape. Every vertice made a difference. Every vertice allowed you to shape something in a different way. So older topology, you'll see some of this weird stuff being done, but it was acceptable back then. And I always think it's funny when I look at stuff like this, and then right next to it is the same junction facing it. Why not? If you're going to close off edges, why not open them up and connect them, right? If they're going to be real close to each other. I see that a lot, which is why I stress, look around your model. But look at some stuff. Here's some really nice clean stuff being drawn out, being laid out. I like that. So do some homework. Have reference up next to where it is you're working, and it'll give you some ideas. Otherwise, you're going to go, oh, wow, he made it look so easy. I'm going to go do it. And then you're going to go, oh, what did he do? Where was that? I don't know. All right, looks like we're losing some interwebs. So I'm going to go around. I'm going to try and maintain this little loop here. We're going to see what we can do here.
When you're smoothing out, you're just holding shift, right? And then dragging it over with the mouse?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm starting to get a lot of display errors. So if anything, kind of you're like, wait, what was that? Just ask. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of knocking that out a little bit, giving myself a better look at the surface. Let's go ahead and prep for the nose hole. Oops, I think I got rid of something that was, oh, okay. We're gonna have to fix that center line there, some of these triangles. Come on. There we go. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to encircle the nose, and I'm going to move some of this geometry over. And this is kind of something that we see a lot, where it's hard to tell what to do because the structure was kind of a little muted, right? Had they had stronger nostrils, what to do here would have been a lot more readable. So I'm just kind of going with a standard, kind of nose topology that I've built before. And again, just smoothing it out. I can always put geometry back. Now, some of this also goes into old school techniques. If I was going to build a nostril, I would preset a section of faces, and then I would extrude. And when you extrude, you're going to go ahead and scale in and then up, right? You're going to extrude in and then up, and that creates what? A radial pattern. That gives you your box junctions, and that's kind of what I'm trying to achieve here. I think we're going to need to got that out. Yeah, we're gonna have all kinds of fun stuff in here. No, I wanna. And a lot of times it's just easier to go about it this way, just to kind of clear that stuff out of there. Yeah, I'm probably going to rebuild that. Yep.
This might come off like a stupid question, but while you're, changing these quads and stuff, that's going to be like updating your model, right? Or does it not? Because we're just UV mapping it.
Well, if you're gonna UV map it, which we'll talk about after this, UV mapping can be updated super quickly, right? All you have to do to UV map and make corrections is just go in and as long as you haven't changed like center lines or where your lines are supposed to be, you could just go and unfold again and it'll just update. There is also an option to update as you go, update your faces and stuff as you, come on. But, come on, get up there, there we go. I prefer to do it manually and actually look at it. We're gonna go back and take care of that.
Yeah. So basically, what I was asking was like, if you're fixing this right now, is it gonna change the way the actual model looks?
I mean,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
we're building better topology to fit the model, if I'm following correctly.
Yep.
Okay, so we want this here, here. Remember that extra edge that went through the nose? And we were like, because it was running through the side of the face and we didn't really like that. Here's where we're going to get that back. My more localized geometry. Now, also, if I want an extra edge, I can just drop it in there and it goes right into my kill zone. I don't have to worry about it going anywhere else. And I think for time purposes, I will simplify that. Install pathway. I could leave that 1, or I can see what it looks like without it. I think we might have plenty of geometry for this nose without it. Just smoothing through, relaxing. Okay, so now you can see we got a better layout for the nose. We got a little bit of custom. If you're not running anything like this that actually sweeps around the side of the nostril, most of the time, a lot of that stuff is gone. Yeah, I do love those little puzzles. I love to watch. There's a guy on YouTube that all he does is figure out those puzzles, and he's got like, oh, he'll spend like 3 hours on them. He times himself. It's kind of crazy. Again, remember when I was new to this stuff, I knew that I didn't know what I was doing, so I always had reference. Always. I wasn't building topology with just what I'm doing now. I always had a whole screen filled with reference of geometry, just some stuff that I can use to build better topology with. Yeah, I knew myself. I knew that I didn't know what I was doing, so I wasn't going to fake it, I guess. If that's the right way to say it. Why is this not? That is crazy. It's like picking up one from one side and then, I think we might actually end up just gutting the one side and doing a standard mirror, but we're going to see if we can't get it to work. I'll clear this out and we'll go into the regulars here. Let's go ahead and hide the high res. We'll go ahead and disconnect it back to regular tools. And of course, it wanted to select something down here in my channel box, not channel box, but my layers. Come on. Give me object mode. That's all you got to do is give me object mode. Just one little object. I miss F8. Actually, it was F3, F4, and F5, I want to say. And that was how you would jump between edge mode, face mode, and whatever. You just do. So if you want to go to object mode, you don't have to worry about a marking menu. Hold on, we're locking up here.
Did they change those buttons? I don't think they did they?
Well, with the newer machines, you really don't have access to it, and you have to hit function and then those. So it wasn't as
easy.
Yeah, I'm kind of lazy. So there we go.
I didn't think I'd like that. Was it the touch bar as much as I actually do?
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It does a decent job. Now, this is another thing that I never really understood when I was modeling, especially basically only in Maya. I go sometimes in ZBrush, but don't be afraid to go inside your model, right? Get in there and look at stuff because you'll be able to see and select things a little bit easier from inside than from outside. So it's one of those things that we're in this 3D environment. We can pretty much do whatever it is we want to do. So, all right, so we got that. We're going to go in here and bring back the head. Let's go and lock it down again. And then go into this. Okay, and we're going to fix up some of this. I'm probably going to have more in the lip there. So with the mouth, just keep it simple. We're going to go through here and just keep this outer edge and area simple. After I clean up. Get rid of that. If I don't know what to do with it, I get rid of it. Just get rid of it. And then we're going to situate a little bit more. We're gonna go ahead and rebuild this corner of the mouth. And because the other side is not cooperating 100% the way I would like it, I think symmetry is going to be dead to me at this point, and I'm just going to delete and remirror. All right, so you want to get a good angle of approach. Okay, so I want to make sure that my geometry is able to flow into the corner of the mouth. the way I need it to. So I want to make sure I have enough room. And that everything is kind of flowing properly. And we're gonna go ahead and just open these up as well. And I think one of the issues here is this was something we talked about, was the upper lip, the upper eyelid, right? The eyelid. If you have an edge running on the upper eyelid, most of the time it's going to be for a generic kind of wireframe, it's going to be the same edge that you want as your lower eyelid line. So what I'm going to do is try and make some changes here to, if this is my lip line for the lower lip, it should be my lip line for the upper lip. So basically these sections, I'm going to kind of go down to here. I want to say it's right there. This is where I want to target. Okay, so all the other stuff, if we only have one other row, we're going to want to get rid of that and make sure that these are even. So that means that this edge, you see it's the upper lip line, it goes down, and it should be the lower lip line. That's really what I'm shooting for there. I might need to add it. And the other thing here, they could have pushed the lip shape a little bit more. And again, that just would have I think that would have helped the overall look and feel of the asset. And it would have made some of these things just easier to follow. Okay, so we'll just do it manually. So I'm establishing my radial loop for the lips. Be careful with my moves. You got to move that camera around sometimes. And then we'll start repatching this. Because we have a nice edge loop in this area now, if I find that, well, I need an extra one. So we have 1, 2, 3 points of connection. We're connecting to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. That's not going to work. We're going to need some extra, I think 2 more edges. And because we have that nice opening, you can see it's very easy for me to just drop in those extra edges. I can smooth them out or relax them, and I'll get now point-to-point connection. But if you don't have a clean, if you go away from those basic things, those standard things, if you stray from those, they just start to snowball, and you end up with just geometry that's really hard to work with. It's really hard to see what you need to do. That was another thing. I spent a lot of time moving geometry around, not really doing anything, just kind of moving things around. Actually, I added one extra one. Don't need that. I've taken edge and I would move it because you'd be surprised that if you nudge it down, you'll see a completely different edge flow than if you leave it where it is. No, I'm sorry. See, I just took one out. I didn't even need to do that. talking and trying to work, you know. We need an extra one down here. No, we don't. Oh, that one's not taking that. Okay, let's back up a little bit. There we go. I need to move those in line. There we go. That works. Bring up that soft select. Kind of smooth out some of that stuff. Make sure you're not, smoothing out stuff and making it connect again, because we just spent time trying to get that not to connect. And honestly, I think if we just bring this geometry down a little bit. Now we're going to need an extra one there. Let's go ahead and it's better. We might need an extra one, but I'm going to call that okay for now. Take off soft select. And yeah, we're going to take off symmetry because it's not really helping out there. I'm just going to go down the center line and then we'll delete.
Hey, Marcus.
Yeah.
When you're using the soft select and you're smoothing around the edges or the borders, I notice it's not affecting the actual border. Is that automatic, or is that a selection, something you have to turn on?
Be your default by default. So relax interior vertices.
Okay.
So you can have border vertices, all vertices. I always like to do the interior.
Okay.
Because yeah, it really makes a mess for me.
Yeah.
It makes kind of a mess when I'm doing the borders as well.
Great. Thank you.
No problem. Good question. Now I've got to redirect some of these because they're not really moving into the face the way I need them to, causing some of our bunching up. And this is again where that soft select comes in. Really good for sliding some geometry over. And then of course you just smooth it. Yay, smooth. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move this over. All right, now we'll take soft select off and start dropping in our points again. Come on. Come on. Oh, there we go. Smooth those out. One, two, three. Well, nice and established. Now, since I'm only working on half of the face, I do need to be mindful of the center line. This is where if you don't have symmetry working, then this is where people get themselves into trouble. Always got to be careful whenever that marking menu comes up. The center line is one of those areas that it's always going to feel a little more dense than anything else. Let's see how we're looking down this. I think we are off center overall. Right there. I'll snap all of this later on. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and get rid of some of this here. Not that one. There we go. Weird what it's finding. Take care of that patch in a second. Gonna move this over. Oh man, there's a fun bit of stuff there. Just getting it out of the way. Don't want it. I don't need it. There we go. We're just going to create a new line up. And the other thing to keep in mind, these are just verts, edges, and faces. There's nothing magical about them because of the tool that we're using to create them. They can be deleted, rebuilt. I don't even need to use this to fix stuff. Like you saw, I went right into face mode and just deleted some stuff. So it's okay if you go a slightly different pathway to recutting. If you want to grab the multi-cut and fix some of this stuff up manually, you can do that. There we go. And then let's move that out. One, two, three. Okay. And the upper lip and lower lip, they're slightly off. I can drop in an extra edge there to help even that up a little bit. Not like that. Better targeting. There we go. Space out your edges. Soft select. Smooth through. Adding a little bit more there to help the face. Brush your edges. Soft select. Smooth through. Okay, now I think I'm going to switch and go into object mode and just kind of get rid of the other side of the face. I don't think it took that. Not sure what it's doing. We'll make it work. No, no, definitely don't want that. Get out of there, UV shell. I think it's trying to grab UV shells. Now, in a situation like this, I think this is also where people get themselves into trouble because when something like this is going on and you're looking at, oh my goodness, what is it doing? Don't just keep inputting commands, right? I'm just trying to move my camera. I'm not trying to do anything else. I'm kind of giving it a second to regain its composure before I just throw in 500 more things for it to think about. And I found with Maya, that's something that works out really nicely. I think I'm still on UV shell. Face, there we go. Soft select off. Delete that. And then clean up any funkiness in there. Oh, you want to go down there? That's cool. I'll just zoom in manually. Sometimes you just don't sweat some of this stuff because it's just stuff that's happening. Gonna clear those out. Not sure what it's grabbing. But if it's grabbing it, I don't care. I'm gonna just get rid of it. What's going on down there at the bottom of the head? Oh, okay. Not sure why we did those areas there, but we'll work with it. Okay, so now we're gonna go back in. Cool, that's all good. Let's go back into the layer. Make that lock down. Grab the low res. I'm just gonna delete some history. Back to quad draw. Another thing I always did, because I know myself, you know, I just get lost in time. But I did a lot of lists and alarms, right? Just to make sure that I was always deleting history. I was always freezing transforms every now and then. That always worked out nice for me. Oh, would you look at that? That's plugged in real good like. Just spacing that stuff out. Let's drop that extra. No, we'll leave it the way it is for now because we got to keep moving. And again, doing stuff that doesn't need to be done. So like this area down here, this didn't need to be done. And this is actually causing complications. Something that, you know, one, where did we have to resurface to? Right? Did we have to do the neck for the resurfacing? Right below the ears. Yep. Right here, base of the skull, underneath to here. So they went ahead and did more than they needed to do, thinking, hey, more effort, better grade, right? No, this got them into areas that they didn't have to worry about causing issues, right? You know, they're spending time here. They could have maybe taken the time spent here, even though this is relatively easy to do. They could have spent the time there fixing up a more one of the required edge loops or one of the you know, one of the issues they may have noticed and go, oh, I just don't have time to fix it. So that's why it's always, you know, you do what's being asked, and then once you get that done, then you can start getting into some other things, if allowed. Let's see. Let's go ahead and get rid of. We got some busted stuff in there. Probably should have deleted that regular, but. And now I get, you know, here I am. I got to fix this stuff. I got to fix it. Oh, that was nice. That got rid of all of it. All right. Very good. Very good. Go. Let's bring this. I'm just trying to bring this down so it's not such a point in the back of the head. You got to make sound effects while you're working on your stuff too. Just makes life more enjoyable.
Sound effects for animation.
That's right. You ever watch any of the streams where people are streaming them working on stuff?
Yeah, I've been watching Shane.
What was that?
I've been watching Shane Olsen.
Okay.
Do you know who that is?
Some of these other ones that I guess are less popular, and
they just half the time they're not doing anything. They're just, oh yeah, yeah, what's up? How you doing? Oh, didn't see you last time. And you're like, are you gonna work on something? I want to see you work on something. There we go. I found it very important to be able to talk and work at the same time. Some people can't do it. My son is one of those. He cannot, he can multitask. Well, he thinks he can multitask, but oh, yeah. I think we're gonna call it done since that's all we can do there. Okay. So we got all this now. What do we do if we're in this scenario? I'm just gonna go ahead and kick out quad draw. I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the main head and hide it. This is also a process, if you have an asymmetrical structure, this is also something that you might be looking at in trying to get into asymmetrical shapes. Why, if you've got, yes, it's an eye, but it's shaped a little different, why not build both sides of the topology at the same time, or one, and then duplicate it, and then just adjust the topology to where it needs to go. So, you know, even stuff like this, as we're getting into asymmetrical stuff, I'm going to build a lot of my topology symmetrically. I just want to make sure that if I move that, it's not going to bunch up with the other one. So if you're wondering what I'm looking at these edges back here, because I don't want to have these here and then cause an issue with anything else. There we go. All right, now let's go ahead and snap the center line. I'm going to do this with vertices. And I do even the ones that I know are already lined up, I still will grab them. Get rid of soft select. I don't need that. And yeah, I'm going to go a little slow because I want to make sure that they are the right edges, the right vertices. I want to grab anything past the center line, accidentally snap that together and then merge verts. That's going to be a problem. Better safe than sorry. Okay, so we have all those. Now I'm going to go ahead and snap these to the center. And sometimes this doesn't work, right? If you go and you hold X, you want to snap the grid, and sometimes they don't line up, right? They snap. You see them moving, but they don't actually snap flat. What's the problem? What could be something I need to look into? Okay, maybe I'm snapping to the wrong thing. But let's say that they're all zigzagged and I snap them, but they're still all zigzagged.
Is it your world button, like your world selection movement button?
It could be world versus object. So we're in world, but if you're an object, this will not work. You won't be able to snap them flat to a grid. So you want to make sure you're in world. And there's something else that'll catch people once in a while. Under move snap settings, you'll see retain component spacing. Honestly, in 20 years of doing 3D, I think I've used that option, turned it on 2 or 3 times, maybe. Usually you want that off because retaining your component spacing and then snapping one of the reasons I use snapping is to flatten things. I'm not quite sure why it would want that. So if you're having a problem and you're in world mode and it's still not snapping flat, go check retain component spacing under move snap settings. But now we're nice and flat there, looking good. Let's go ahead, delete some history. Always like to delete history anytime I'm getting ready to mirror or anything like that. Should be good. And then it's going to pinch a bunch of stuff. This gets people as well, right? It pinches stuff down the center line. Always annoying. Just take your move or merge threshold, 0.001. If you've spent time snapping everything really nice and clean, 0.001 should capture anything down the center. So hit the 5 key. Let's take a look. Looks good. Looking good. Nothing down the center. Now we are a little aggressive in some of these lines. I would, if you do have, hopefully symmetry worked okay. But if it didn't, and you're running into problems, what I'd like to do is usually take the high res head, lock it down again, grab the low res and just activate quad draw again. We'll go soft select. We'll turn, this could get me into trouble. I'm gonna leave symmetry off. But hopefully symmetry hasn't been working well for me. It's snapping things down the center. But if I'm diligent and I hold shift and I relax down the center, it should function okay and give me well enough left and right smoothing. Or if I do this side, I want to make sure I do that side. But I'm trying to get rid of that sharp line down the center. That's really what I'm going after here. Got that extra vert hanging out there. Oh, there's still a lot there in that chin. There we go. That's, yep, I think that was it, that one extra one. I'm just gonna go around the whole thing. Scribble, 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 scrabble, scrabble, scrabble. I mean, it can only smooth out so much, right? So if you're good on left and right, we should be able to get that to smooth where we need it. And use your eyeballs. We're artists. You should be able to kind of see a straight line. All right. Okay. Much better. I think we've taken care of those things. I think we're looking good. We've answered a lot more of the needs for good topology. Let's hide that. You know, there are still things that, you know, I'm not happy with. That we have some spacing issues. You can see there's a little bit, maybe a 1 or 2 extra in the forehead would be nice, but other than that, way better than what we started with. Much cleaner, much more standard with the loops, you know, clean center line, custom stuff for the nose, open holes in the nose, nice radial for around the mouth, better density and parameterization overall, and overall edge flow. So this is where we want to be. Now, in the essence of time, I'm going to keep working with this one, and we'll go ahead and lay out the UVs and go ahead and do our normal map. And if you're like, well, I thought you were going to talk about hair today, because of the extra day that I'm going to move the thing, I figure we'll just do that on Friday. But what do you have that you can watch that has all the hair information? The last month's lectures. You can go right to the week 3, look at that last bit, see how I talk about some stuff, do's and don'ts, and you can get a jump on that if you would like. I mean, honestly, it's all the same tools. All this is the same stuff. It's all the same tools we're going to be using. We're not getting into fiber mesh. We're not getting into hair systems, XGen, fur, any of that stuff. It's all modeled hair, sculpted hair. So it's just tools that we already know. We've already worked on going from primary to secondary to tertiary. It's the same thing with the hair. We start and we move our way through it. All right, so let's do some UVs. I remember Steve Gold used to say Ulrich von Richtenstein was the inventor of the UVs, and that was totally a lie. I don't know, U and V direction, just what it is. So we're gonna go ahead and lay out the UVs here. And we're gonna do some things that aren't normally what we would do in a full character layout, but it's something that works for what we're doing. Purpose dictates process. What are we normal mapping? Just the head. So my usage of the 0 to 1 space will be different than if this was the whole character, so on and so forth. It's always important to know why you're doing stuff. So when somebody goes, well, why'd you lay out the head at a 45-degree angle? Well, for the assignment, we only had to do the normal maps. And I know that it's not the way that I would usually do it, but doing it that way allowed me to maximize usage of my 0 to 1 space. Perfect, right? So let's go and let's take a look at what we have. What are we starting with? Well, let's go ahead and get rid of some histogram. And this is good practice here. I'm just going to shift, soften all my normals. Good. There we go. And then we're going to go look at the awesomeness. Okay, now this model already had the UVs laid out for it. You can see that. So we just went ahead and did a bunch of work. Am I worried about it? Am I like, oh my goodness, what do I do? No, not at all. Because the new UV tools are painless. They are so easy to work with. We're just going to do them again. And I want to take that fear away from you, because a lot of people hate UVs. No, you don't have to hate them. They're great. We're just going to do a couple things here. We're just going to do it again. We're gonna go ahead and lay it out, cut the seams again, and go from there. I am looking at how they cut their seams. A little interesting. I'm going to see if I can get away with not doing that. Some of that is dictated because they have some interesting geometry flow in the back of the head. So we'll see what we can do. So we're going to go in UV. And first thing I want to do is just clear out all the stuff, right? This, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what all those faces are. So the best thing to do is just clear it out, and a planar map is a great way to do this. It gets rid of all those, you see all the little seams that are cut open, all that new geometry we added in. That's all extra seams that we want to sew together so we can unfold correctly. The number one issue people have with laying out UVs is they don't have their seams cut properly, or they forgot, right? So when they go to unfold, it twists all up because there's like a bunch of seams that they shouldn't have. So what we usually do is this planar map that closes all the excess seams. It kind of organizes it, gives Maya something a little more to work with. That's a little bit more straightforward. Now that we've done that, now we can go in and call it a day, right? It's done. No. This will get you a big zero goose egg. Using auto mapping and leaving it is a big goose egg as well. So I want to go in here and actually cut my seams, and I'll use my model to do my selection. And I'm just going to do a simple goalpost if I can. This one. Okay, so this one doesn't really have, the edge flow that I'm used to. So I'm going to see what I can do with it. I usually have geometry that comes out of the eye for me, and I sweep back and go right through the back of the head. But again, they did more than they needed to. They sculpted little ears on here. Had they just followed the reference on FSO, they could have just went right around that, and that would have guided their geometry a little bit better. So like I said, we're going to work with what we got. I'm going to go up to about here, maybe. And I'm just going to cut that. So I'm going to go to my UV editor. There we go. You didn't even see that. It was on my other screen. But this right here, this is a zero. This is what I was talking about earlier. But this, again, resets all that gook that we were looking at. So I'm just going to do a cut. And you can see we got that cut there. So now we need to go from about here to the same place. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. Okay, and we're going to cut that. You can cut all of these at one time. So do all your selections and then do your cut at one time. Or you can, do kind of what I'm doing here. Actually, I think I'm going to go down a little bit lower. We'll go 2 more out. And the reason for that is I think I'm going to need to go somewhere right about where the ear would be, the hairline would be. I don't want my seams bleeding into the front of the face. There are occasions that this would happen. Characters with large noses, muzzles. There's only so much we can flatten out a surface. A default head is easy. This guy's his head is not really default, but it is kind of default, right? He's a little bit taller head-wise than a regular head. But we don't have any really long protrusions coming off or anything like that. If you have something that's really long, again, do some research, look at some layouts that might work for that. You may have to separate some pieces. And when I say you might, if you've got giant rabbit ears and you're including those would be laid out separately because we can't flatten those out without creating a whole bunch of distortion. They're going to be better served as their own pieces. But what I don't want to see, and I've been seeing this the past couple months, and I'm not sure where it's coming from, but a head like this will be broken into like 6 different UV shells. And I can tell that somebody did some work. They put it together, and there's the side of the face, there's the forehead, two zones for the back of the head, the jaw is pulled off, but I'm not sure where that's coming from, but we don't want to do that. Seams, even with substance and all these paint on my model programs, seams are still noticeable. Right, so we still want to pay attention to where they're placed. We want to hide them, and yeah, we don't want them running down the middle of the face or cutting into the face. So when I stop here, I know that if I have hair or anything, it's going to cover that up. So we're going to cut that. I think I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 up. So we'll do the same thing back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And yes, I am counting so I don't mess it up. There's no shame in that. Maybe there is. I don't know. Okay, so now we have that kind of football goalpost. And the neck is in there. I wish the neck wasn't there. Let's see what we get. We're going to see if the neck wasn't there. Because he's got that kind of little bit more bulbous chin, I could possibly do an incision right under here to kind of allow some of that to spread open there. But with the neck in play, I'm going to see what we get. We might need to separate the neck, right? I might get a better result by separating the neck off of the head and laying it off to the side. But again, it goes into, well, I pushed it a little bit further and I did that, and it seems like such a little thing, but it adds complication to future processes. One, with the resurfacing, and now with UVing, I might lose some resolution in the face because I'm having to place the neck somewhere. But we're going to see. Maybe we can get it to work. Maybe we won't. So now that we've got our seams cut, so we planar map, we cut our seams, and now we're going to go in and go to UV shell, grab that UV shell, and I just go right to modify, unfold. Now, there is, yes, the unfold off to the side in your toolbars and stuff like that, but I like to go right here just to double check my settings. First thing we want is Unfold 3D. If you don't see Unfold 3D, you have to activate Unfold 3D through the Settings and Preferences plugin manager. Iterations 10, cool. Prevent cell border interact, yep. Prevent triangle flip, yep. Map size, you get 1024, 2048. Either one of those are going to work fine.
What does the iterations mean?
Iterations is like a sampling. How many times is it going to try and lay it out in the background before it gives you one result? So it's gonna do it. It's gonna look at it, evaluate it, do it, look at it, evaluate, and all this stuff happens. I don't see it. It's just, yeah, might as well let the computer do some things to save me from having to worry about it. So I just go all the way up to 10. Hit apply, and boom. Okay. Now we've got that. I am going to turn on the heat map. I want to see if we are getting any bad stretching in here. You can see the chin. What's happening there is we're actually going to be getting a stretching. So you have areas of compression and you have areas of stretching, right? So if you think about, when you blow up a balloon and then you write on it and then deflate it, everything compresses, right? Or if you write on it and then blow it up, it stretches. So the same thing's happening here, but it's kind of backwards. You have to look at this and you see that this looks really good, but on the model, it's stretched out. So what'll happen is as I paint here, it's going to stretch it out when it puts it on the model. Areas like this, it's stretched out in the UVs. So when I paint and put it on the model, it's going to compress it, right? So we'll get sharper details right here, which will mean the seam will show up more. And here we're going to get natural stretching because the chin has more shape than we're able to get here. Okay, so is this something I need to worry about? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. So if you think about the skin in that area, distortion is not always a bad thing because distortion is nature. So in the nose, right, you can see we're getting all that in the nose. Is this a problem, right? If you look at the pores of your nose are usually stretched out more so than what's on your cheek. So therefore, a little bit of stretching might not be a bad thing, right? It might feel more natural that way. The other thing that I had a hard time with UVs was I want them to be done, but sometimes I don't know that they're done until I actually start painting my texture. UVs are kind of a very organic process. You almost have to begin texturing it to really get a sense of if this is working or not. And sometimes you'll go, nope, it's not. This is too stretched or it's too compressed. Let me go in and touch up the UVs and then bring it back in and update. So don't be afraid of that kind of stuff. I think that's what drives people nuts with UVs. They just want it to work and they want it to be done. But UVs are very gray area in nature, just because they're never perfect, right? There's never going to give you, you're always going to have seams. You're always going to have some kind of distortion somewhere, or you're going to have seams that you have to worry about, or you're going to have a lot of distortion you have to worry about. There's always this battle going on, seams versus distortion. I'm going to go ahead and run with it. I don't see anything that's terrible. I don't think I need to separate the neck. We're getting a little compression in there, but you know, we got a lot of skin compressing there anyway. I think it's okay. The face, I think, is going to be okay. I'm not seeing anything that's shouting at these right here. The reason I stopped them in the hairline was, you know, that's going to show up. There are a couple of other types of layouts that you'll see a slice down to from the back of the head just all the way up to the hairline. That creates a big seam down the center. I tend to have better results this way. So if the hair is off, it's usually less noticeable running with the temporal crest than running right down the center of the head. So actually, I don't know if it's on this machine. Nope. I think I lost it. This one. Render final. No, those are images. It is there. Okay. So this here, this was because it was a skull. I didn't want seams running down through the side. This is when they were like, hey, we're going to bring substances. Everybody texture something. I'm like, okay. But you can see, if you can see it right there through the center, there is a seam. Yeah, that's what I mean. I looked at it and I was like, I need to get it done. Let's do this quick. Cool. It works out okay. But, you know, anybody says, oh, you're never going to see your seams, they're lying. They are lying. Yeah, it looks like a suture. I think it works out okay. But, you know, I wouldn't have known that until I actually did it. This reminds me, did anybody see Army of the Dead yet?
Yeah, I saw it.
Dude, there's so many things in that movie that need to be figured out. And the metal skulls kind of made me think about that. But yeah,
well,
this
he kind of explained a little bit of it, but it doesn't explain it in the movie.
You think he explained it okay in the movie?
No, I'm saying I don't think he didn't explain it well in the movie, and then I watched like
a deeper look.
Yeah, and
yeah,
then I was
that's
like,
what I had.
okay.
I was like, I didn't even pay any of that attention. I just kind of was like, whatever.
I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense, but
I'm hoping that they do come up with some. I mean, it just opened up the possibilities for other movies and things. I'm hoping that they do bring some of that to the table, because after watching, when I first watched it, I was like, oh, okay, that was cool. But then watching the stuff that, you know, things you may have missed, I was like, oh, now I need to know. I need to know now. I need to figure out what all this stuff is. So
yeah, and they're working on like a prequel.
Yeah, I heard it's going to be animated.
Yeah, that supposedly, and it's going to be on Netflix, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to watch that. I like to see live action with
yeah.
You know, not really much of that. Well, we did it, but it's cartoon. Here you go. And I know Sean's probably like, what's wrong with cartoons? All right, so this is going to work. Let's go ahead and situate it. I'm going to go ahead and grab this and just move it in. So I want to maximize my usage of the 0 to 1 space. Now I'm going to point something out here. This is not your 0 to 1 space, right? This is your 0 to like 100 space. Where's your 0 to 1 space? Oh, it's this little box right here where it says 0 to 1. If you put this outside the 0 to 1 space, you're probably going to get a blank normal map, and that won't score very well. So we want to maximize usage within our 0 to 1 space. I'm going to go and just rotate it. Now, why am I rotating it? Right, I mentioned that this isn't a standard, but I just get more out of my 0 to 1 space. So you can see I can squeeze this in this way, but if it's flat, it doesn't fit. Right, so then I would have to make it smaller, losing pixels, losing resolution. But keeping it at that angle allows me to squeeze a little bit more out of my 0 to 1 space. So that's why I like to do it for this. And I've seen people post and they're like, well, why is it at an angle? That doesn't make sense. Who told you to do that? And it's like, no, it's just for a simple normal map. It's no big deal, or just, you know. So always remember that when you do something, that's not the way it's done, unless you're in a class that's called the way it's done. It might work just for that specific instance, and it might be the best scenario for what it is you're working on right then and there. All right, so you can see I can really get a lot of the usage out of that 0 to 1 space by just finagling that a little bit. Now we're ready for our normal map. Look at that. That was painless, right? We planar mapped it, we cut some seams, we put it in the 0 to 1 space, maximizing usage of the 0 to 1 space, and it's done. Yay. Okay, so there's nothing really to worry about with your UVs. Okay, they're fast, they're easy to put together. They should go smooth. If it's causing you problems, what I would do, and this is something I again always like to do, is if I'm working on something, I want to work next to somebody that's doing the same thing I'm doing. So if I'm resurfacing, I would pair up with somebody in my class that was resurfacing, so that way we can talk to each other while we're going through that process. And so same thing with UVs and same thing with normal. Okay, cool. Let's do our UVs. Let's do this. Let's do that, and then we help each other get to the end. So we got our UVs looking good. Awesome. We'll go ahead and get rid of that. Let's close this. We don't need the UV unfold options anymore. Let's go ahead and bring back our high res. Let's go back to object mode. We're going to name this high res. I don't know why I'm having a problem there. Let's go ahead and freeze our transforms on it. Oh, you didn't want to take that? Let's keep high. Okay, we're going to grab that low, and you guessed it, we're going to name it low. Okay, and now we're going to go into rendering. We're going to look at lighting and shading. We're going to use transfer maps. If you know how to do it with Substance and you want to do it with Substance, go ahead. Just make sure that when I open it, we're gonna look at a kind of a trick that I learned working on a game project with how to bypass. And I know that this is bad practice, but how to bypass the project directory so I don't have to set projects all the time. The way that we're going to submit, if done properly, I'll open up your scene and all your textures will just be sourced. I don't have to go and set project each individual student. So it helps me with grading, and it's a little trick when you're passing files to other people and you don't want to get into the whole setting projects and changing directories and stuff like that. So if you do Substance and you bring the map in from a foreign area, you're going to have to go through and resource it from its final destination, its final folder destination, and make sure that it loads. The easiest way to check it is give your file to a friend and say, hey, can you check this out? Open it up. If they hit the 6 key and it loads, you know you did it right. They hit the 6 key and nothing happens, you did it wrong. Okay, so we're going to go to transfer maps. Now I'm just going to reset just so we're looking at what it is that we should be seeing. Now it loaded in the low and the high. I'm just going to go ahead and grab the high and remove selected. So we just have the low. The low is our target. Our source mesh is our high. So this is what we're pulling the normal information from. That's our source, and we're putting it on the target, which is the low. For prep, just grab both surfaces, hold shift. Nope, didn't want that. Get out of there. Both surfaces. Okay, interesting. I guess it's selected. Either way, hold shift, right click, soften, and just soften edges on both of them. Because, you know, what we're looking at here is we're pulling normal shading information. And what normals do, let's look at them. Let's look at them, because it's kind of neat to understand what these things are doing. But because this is a gray shader, the normals on each vertex is telling the corners of my edges. It's, I don't know if you guys heard that. That was crazy. It's telling it to be what color gray. So let's just go and look at it. Let's say display polygons, vertex normals, right? You can see, yay, we got some normals.
Looks like Hellgate.
Well, that's what I was going for. So it worked.
Oh, yeah, Pinhead. Yeah, that movie's called Hellgate, right? Is that what it's called? Oh, Hellraiser. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, they were real good up until they started just making. There's a lot of them. I tried watching all of them. It was kind of hard. Right. So
80s kid over here.
the what?
I'm an 80s kid over here, so I know all this stuff. Yeah.
There you go. What is it? The Necromancers or whatever? Or what was his henchman called? My favorite was the one that was the DJ that shot the CDs.
I don't remember that specific. I just
Come
remember
on, man! You didn't.
I watched the first one, and then the second one was I didn't like it, so I kind of it's like, all right, that's enough.
Fine. I have such wonderful things to show you.
It was really disturbing, though. That really messed me up for a while when I saw it when I was a kid. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty scary when you're.
Hey, Clive Barker, that guy, he's a sick and twisted guy.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so let's go to boring town here. The normals, each vertex has, in a softened normal situation, each vertex has one normal. So that way it can let light bend, right? So basically light angle is telling the normal what color to give the corners of the surrounding faces. So the reason we can see soft shading is because it's blending. It's taken the normals, it's blended them into one, so you're getting the same color gray on every corner of the faces around that normal. Okay, so we get softer, and they become your normals become like pixels. The more we have, the cleaner shading we can see. Now, if we harden the normals here, this is where we get into some interesting things. You'll notice that there's one normal for every face around that vertex. This is why we have different colored grays, right? So this might be 0.3, 0.4, 0.25, 0.5. So now it's able to give each corner of the face a different color, no matter what I mean, of course, it's still based off light angle and it does change, but that's how it's giving it. If you have hardened normals on your model, you are going to think about, you know, when you make fun of somebody, you know, take a plate and smash it on the ground and try and put it back together. Those cracks and the damage is still there, even though the plate's back together. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. If you cut up a picture and then you tape it back together, you're gonna see the tape marks. Okay, you're gonna see where it was ripped. So what happens is your normal map in a situation like this, where you have all of these, treat these like little blades. You're going to put this nice clean normal map onto it. What it's going to do is it's going to cut it apart and then try and sew it back together when it hits the surface. And what does that result in? It results in your wireframe being embedded into your normal map. That's not what we want, right? That doesn't make sense unless you're going for some kind of cool look. Maybe you want that in there, but we don't want that in there. This is why softening your normals on the low res is so important. By softening them, it will then average and give us it doesn't have to cut. It's not going to take each vertex section and separate it and then try and put it to get back together independently. It's just going to blend it so we don't see that. On the high res, actually, let me go in here and turn those off. On the high res, you know, it just makes sense that we want to soften them, because what are we putting on the model? We're putting all the shading information. So if the shading information is a hard normal shading look, you're going to have that baked in. All those different colors per face will be baked into your normal map. So you're going to see all the hard lines. That's why before you do anything, long story short, just grab both models, shift, right click, soften edge, just do it on both of them. That way you're going to get nice shading information and it's going to be applied to your model correctly. Okay. So back to the transfer maps. We got our low shape, we got our high shape in the appropriate areas. We are going to output maps. Let's do a normal map. Okay. And then, yeah, it does this Dance Dance Superstar, some kind of special game map security protocol thing. We don't want that. We want this to be just a regular image. So I'm going to switch it to a TIFF, not for any magic reason. TIFF target, they should work fine. I don't know, I just like TIFF. I'm going to try something though. I'm going to do a target. I want to see if something changes there. But again, either one of those should be okay. I'm going to go to the saving. And here again, you want to file type, just pick that. Otherwise, it gives you a weird naming thing. And I'm just going to put it on my desktop for funsies. Now you all know my last name. Oh no. Okay. We're going to do map space, tangent space. Connect output maps. Connect maps to shader. Yep. And give me a new shader. Don't apply this to your default shader. Otherwise, everything that has that's going to get you wrong. So we want a new shader. Maya common outputs. Basically here, I think online it still references a 1024. 2048 is going to be fine. We're going to go to world space. That's good. Sample quality. Let's do 4 medium. And we'll make our filter size work. Yeah, you watch a lot of videos. This is kind of a starting point. It's not going to be too low res that it's going to look terrible. It's not going to be too high res that we're going to be losing extra time trying to bake these things, right? Just a medium, nice starting point. If we need to go up, we can go up. If we need to go lower, we can go lower. Just a good place to go. Fill texture seams, yep. And advanced options, these are going to be if you need them. So really what you're going to have here, this is more for if you have multiple objects, this becomes an issue, but closest to envelope. So what is this? What is an envelope? An envelope is how this whole setup works. Your low res creates an envelope, and that envelope sits over your high res, capturing information, normal information, the shading information. Come on, give me just a little bit. Can you just hold there? There we go. So if it fits inside the envelope, it'll get captured. But sometimes you'll notice this in the corner of the eyes, because the envelope is larger, it starts to overlap. It's basically inflating a fake version of your model, a shell of your model. But if they start to overlap each other, if the edges start to overlap, this process gets confused. Does it grab this part of the model or this part of the model? Think about fingers. If I had an envelope, but these are really close together, so my middle finger envelope was really closer to the pointer than it was to the middle finger, what's it going to grab? What information will it pull? It's going to pull whatever it's closest to based on the current settings. So this is where we start getting some weird discrepancies in our map because it's pulling information from the wrong part of the model. It's either that your surface is too big, your actual map is, your envelope is too big, right? If you've built good clean geometry for this class, the default should work beautifully for you. If you've starved it, if it's too low res, you might be missing some of this information because your envelope is too small. So you might have to adjust it a little bit. You don't got to go crazy like 0.2, 0.1, 0.2. That really makes a difference, right? And we don't want to adjust it to the point where it starts getting overlapped or anything like that. So we're going to see what the defaults work, see if that gives us a good information. But if you start noticing some issues, you can change how it's actually looking. Is it looking inside the envelope, then outside? So it's going to, wherever it finds information first, it's going to grab that, and then it'll look outside just in case if it doesn't find anything inside the envelope. Is it finding information outside the envelope? Or do we want to push it inside the envelope only? If we were going inside the envelope only, is my current setup going to work? What do you think? Do you see the whole envelope? No. So it's probably going to miss a lot of information. So again, we're going to try the defaults and only adjust this if needed. The other thing we can mess with is max search depth. How far, percentage-wise, is it going to go inside and outside of that envelope? So this is a good way to kind of push a little bit further. So you're not really changing your envelope size. You're just kind of letting it search a little bit further outside of the envelope. Be careful with this. Don't go, yeah, let's go to 100, right? Bring it up a little bit, run it, see, run it, see, run it, see, you know, kind of taking little baby steps as you go to see if you can fix anything. But we're hoping for everything to kind of line up nicely. So let's go ahead and let's bake and close. Let's see what happens. I'm not going to do baking. I'm just going to bake just in case I need to look at these things again and rebake. Is it doing anything? I think it is. Yep, there we go. Normally, I have my little bar down there telling me everything, but it seems to have vanished. Let's turn it back on. I don't remember turning that off, but oh well. Tomato, tomato. Things work and they don't. You know what I've really enjoyed, and this is totally, it has nothing to do with the class, but we might as well talk while we're waiting for this to bake. But I started riding a BMX bike again, a little 20-inch. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. If adjusted properly, it's a lot of fun. Doing bunny hops. Oh, a little BMX bike? Uh-oh. Oh, no. I didn't save it. That's okay. I have another scene set up to where we can just bake them up. Let's see, is it going to close? Yeah, it's going to crush on us. Yay.
Why do you think it crashed? Just the lottery?
There was some odd things going on with that file. Honestly, I don't know. Now, I will say that my Maya has been open for a while.
Do you think it's because of the Tarja or what? Like you set it as Tarja instead of
No,
TIFF?
that should, I mean, let me open up another scene. We'll run the same parameters. I just don't want to, because I don't think I saved that after I cleaned everything up. So we'll run a Targa again on a different file. My guess was Maya's been open for a long time. And I was thinking I should probably save, but I've been pretty lucky. So Maya's been open, and then also that file, there was a lot of weird stuff going on with the geometry, and I'm pretty sure I fixed all that, but I didn't save, and there wasn't history on it. So I'm 90% sure it's just because I had Maya open for so long. And Maya is, Autodesk has never been good. Well, whoever owned it, Maya itself, the program, has never been good with changing or not changing, but flushing its RAM. It's really, really not done a good job with that at all, ever. Let's see, UV layout, UL body, UV, just looking for one. Almost done. Let's see what this is.
If for some reason ours keeps crashing, what do you suggest for us to do for submission?
Shoot me the file.
Okay.
Please don't email me and say, hey, I'm having a problem, because all I'm going to do is say, give me the file. So it's better to just do a preemptive, here's the file. But yeah, just send me the file. The other thing you can try and do, it's always a good troubleshoot, is to export each piece independently as an OBJ. That's not the one I want. That's an old file. It's got old geometry. I think we're gonna use it anyway. Oh, back in the day. Let me see if I've got one that's better. You see the difference between the old file and the new? Because we can have more geometry, there's no need for those condension junctions or anything like that. So this one's ready to go. This one, same thing, right? You can see same type of layout. Geometry's all ready to go. We have our high res in there somewhere. You can see that the models sit. And even though there's more information, you can see only doing that section of the head. So let's go ahead and bake it again. Now I know which file to open. So if we do get a crash, we should be okay. So the same parameters, everything's exactly the same, but I'm going to set up my window the same. Now I may have also changed something by accident while I was describing. I don't know if I left something on or off in the window, but we'll see here. We'll see. If this works, then it was just Maya saying, I'm done, I'm tired, I want to go to sleep. Okay, so we'll grab this. Let me rename these here.
Is that like a 3D scan of a person or is that model?
I modeled this a long time ago. The reason that it's rough, are you talking about the geometry?
Yeah.
That is just, remember the decimation process we did in the last class?
Mm-hmm.
Where we decimated the model. This is what it does. It goes through and it says, one, it triangulates it.
Oh.
And it looks and it says, where do I need geometry and where do I not need geometry? So it's a really nice way to make your model more efficient for a program like the 3D printing software or Maya. And it maintains the shape.
Okay.
And it's one of the reasons that we also, talking about a scan, so you kind of recognize that it was a scan. Scan geometry is a mess, right? Even though this isn't a scan, but when they scan, laser scan stuff or photogrammetry, the geometry is not usable, which is another reason why we have to go through resurfacing procedures and things like that.
Those LiDAR scans are really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I actually have, where is it here? I have a program on my phone called Clone. And so it's Clone. It took me a while. I was actually, no, it's not gonna. But basically you print out this QR code and you scan it, you put whatever you want on it, and it builds a dome around whatever the object is. And then you literally just scan your phone around it and it outputs a model.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I did some Hot Wheels cars and a little R2-D2 figure and stuff like that. You can then export them out, and they're usually garbage though. The model itself is garbage, and it tries to do a texture. It's on your phone, but it gives you something that you can build from. The proportions are all there, placement of items are all there, or shapes are all there. So, and it's free until you want to start exporting. Then it wants money. So the question was, can we print these models? You would want to do a little bit of prep work, and you have to think about what kind of printer is it. Do you know what kind of printer they have over there? The filament? Okay, so it's probably a filament printer, an FDM. So the problem with FDM printers is they're really good for chunky objects, right? I think I took it off there. So you want to print a skull. So that skull that I showed earlier that was rendered, I printed that out about that big, and it's I don't know if we looked at that during one of the lectures, but it'll print that out. But when you get into small appendages and things like that, because it's a melting plastic and it's moving a lot, it tends to fail on legs and arms, or just. But if you're going to build it large scale and key it properly, which is breaking apart the arm so you can print just the arm in its optimal layout, the torso, the legs, and then put it together like a model kit, then you can usually get away with stuff because you can print larger scale, and it just prints better. But the problem is if you want to just print, so there's some prep work. If you want to just print, when it gets around the legs, it's actually drawing each layer. So if you think about the pen as the legs, it's putting each layer down. So it makes it very brittle like wood, and it'll snap, right? If it doesn't adhere each layer properly. So that's where you have to be careful with it. Plus, you're going to want to fuse all the pieces together. So it's printing everything at one time. And it's not trying to print inner surfaces. So usually a live Boolean or a Dynamesh, very high resolution Dynamesh will fuse everything together, still maintain all your nice shape separations, but generate one solid piece that it'll print from. I mean, it can. If you print as large as it can go, and you thicken things up to an acceptable level, it will print. But the only thing that stinks with printers is if it fails 12 hours in, it's done. I mean, you've wasted 12 hours. Some printers will recognize and pause, and then you fix something and it'll, if you really know what you're doing, you can reset and it'll start on whatever layer if you can get the layer counts. But usually it's a push a button and wait and hope that whatever it's going to give you something that works, right? So can be done. If you are interested in that, show me the model. We'll look at it and see if we can try and do a preemptive strike on some things to get the most optimized thing we can get. No, it is really cool. I mean, definitely the heads. If you took just the head, you can print a bust pretty nicely because I mean the head is pretty simple. But yeah, if you're interested in doing that, let me know. I also have a Delta printer that I need to bring in. A Delta printer is a 3-arm printer, so it does XYZ, but each arm moves independently. And I'm going to bring that into school once they allow us back at our desks and printing stuff there. So also your next instructor loves to print stuff. He's got some resin printers as well, Mike Clavin. So if you really want detail and not have to jump through hoops to make it print, resin is the way to go, but they're expensive. So, oh, it's my chair. Sounds like my ice maker at night when it's trying to push the ice out of the thing. It's like, yeah. All right, so yeah, printing is fun. All right, so here we go. Let's see if we can make this one work. I need to get rid of let's remove selected. Well, fine. We'll do it manually again. I think it's because I changed the names. Yep. Okay, so we got that. Now this one here, you'll notice the lips are going to give me a problem. You're going to see some anomalies on the lips because the lips themselves are intersecting. So we're naturally going to have an issue with the normal map because the envelopes are literally overlapping each other. Chances are we'll just paint that out. Okay, so we got that. Good. Normal map out. This one's set as a TIFF. Let me go ahead and clear that. Move map. Let's bring in another one because I want to do the same thing that I did before. So I don't think it should be the target. It'd be interesting if it ends up being the target, but it should be. The other thing you can do is you can go into your script editor, and if you're echoing all commands, you can use that to troubleshoot because it'll show you what the error is or what it encountered. Tangent space, good. My 2048, good. This is all set up from before. Awesome, cool. Let's bake. Yeah, see, this one's baking fine with a.
The company that I work for.
Oh, I shut the whole system down. Just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. It just shuts off like it normally does. What was that?
Oh, I was just saying the company that I work for, they build like destroyer ships for the Navy. And we use
no, I'm just kidding.
yeah, it's a little important. but we use LiDAR cameras and stuff to make virtual like the insides of the ships, so that we can basically like get measurements and stuff while they're not in port, or while they're like doing different like changes to the ship and stuff.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, the laser scanners are really cool. A buddy of mine worked over at, before the NCAA and all that stuff had problems with EA. So he was over here at Tiburon, the EA studio here in Maitland. And they trained him on this big scanner. And it was kind of sad, but kind of cool, because basically they fired most of their environment team and then trained like 4 people on this laser scanner, just sent them out to scan stadiums because they didn't need anybody to model them anymore. Then they would take the scan data and they'd ship it over to, I think they worked with Russia and India companies over there. And they would do all the fixing and cleaning up and ship it back over. And it would be done. But yeah, he talked about going in and setting up all the markers and then scanning. And he's like, it's crazy. You know, when you're done, you've got this, it's the stadium. It's all the bits and pieces of the stadium all right there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
All right, so it looks like it's done. Looks like it baked. Let's go ahead and look at my desktop and see if it actually gave us a map. I'm not seeing a map yet. I think I put it on there. But I also have 900 things in the way. Let me go into here. Bless you. Oh, I'm saving it. Why do I save it in there? We're going to bake that again. I'm not going to go search for it. I put it on my desktop. Let's bake it again. There we go. I ended up throwing it into a project directory. I can't remember the last time I used a project. Don't tell anybody I'm saying that. They'll be mad at me. What? You're telling them not to use projects?
I'm laughing over here. That's so funny. I'm the same way.
I hate using projects. I mean, I don't hate it. If I'm in a production, yes, I'll use a project. You know, usually you're passing files back and forth, and
When they bring it up, I always kind of just whistle like animators, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, it really, if you use the way we're going to show on Friday, if you use that method, I mean, all your textures and everything load. You don't have to worry about setting anything, folder directories.
Yeah, I like that. Easy.
What was that?
I like it easy, the easier way.
Yeah, whatever's easy, whatever's production friendly, you know.
Yeah, that's efficiency.
Yeah, my time is valuable. I got to go and open up project and set project and open another one and set project 70 times. That gets old.
That's right.
All right, so we're baking again, and you can see, right? This is one of those things that you click a button, you set a couple things, and you just wait. This is our rendering time. If a model's actually rendered, this is when you can turn to your friend and talk to them about something other than your work.
Like BMX bikes.
Yeah, BMX bikes. I love it. It's fun. I mean, it's scary. It's scary. Jumping off a curb is a lot scary at 45 than it was when I was 15. You know what I mean? So my son, he was like, so what else? Did you ever skateboard? And I go, no, I didn't skateboard. I was an aggressive inliner. And he's like, what is that? And I go, well, that's
Inline skating.
Huh?
Inline skating.
That's right, man. Arlo and all them back in the day. Originated.
It's getting big again.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I just jump on rails and curbs and, you know, flip down steps. And he goes, oh, you got to show me? You got to teach me? I said, no. You want me around? I'm not going to go flipping down some steps because I'll be dead.
One of my friends actually that I work with, he was in the X Games for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
He-
I've got none of that. None of that for me.
I think he only got like I say only, but because he doesn't think it's that big of a deal, but he only got like 5th or 6th place or something
Oh,
like that.
that's it?
Yeah.
Had they let me in there, I would have won the whole thing. All right, so I went ahead and I just hid my high res. Let's go ahead and look at the map. Let's make sure things are looking good. This is the map. I'm going to inspect it, just make sure things are okay. And we got a little bit of discrepancy. This is what I was talking about, right? This is where the shells are just overlapping each other, that map. So you want to kind of ask yourself, is this worth messing with through the settings, or do I just want to fix it? Because once the map is built, this is just pixel information. Photoshop is a great place to fix this stuff. Don't make it more difficult than it needs to be. Something like that, I can just smudge out. I can smudge all this out. I can smudge that out. So I'm not terribly worried about these types of issues. I'm just going to fix them manually. So I think the map is looking good itself. Now let's look at it in the actual scene. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit the 6 key and make sure it's loading the way it needs to load. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for, of course, those discrepancies, those visual discrepancies. You can see in the lips there, we're getting some of those. Nose looks good. Eyes look good. We're losing a little bit of that line there. So that might be something I want to look. I mean, for the class, that's going to be fine. I wouldn't really sweat that. But I'm also looking for dead spots. Dead spots are like little areas of zero information. So these will show up as like puddles of just gray, especially once you add your normal map. You'll go ahead in there and it'll be just gray. All right. Now, I'm going to just bear with me. I'm going to bake this one more time and I'm going to change it to a TIFF. This is the reason I switched to a Targa in the first place, was I want to see what's going on with the color space settings. Let's see, map, we'll call that map 2. I'm gonna put it right on my desktop again. Let's save that. TIFF, tangent space, all this stuff is good. I'm gonna go ahead and map it again. So I will have both maps. They should look exactly the same, but how it applies, I think, might be different. And that's what I'm investigating. And this is how we learn. Yay! When something happens, all you have is your ability to try some other stuff and be cautious and mindful of what's happening, what have you changed, what's different. And that's how you pick up new tools and you learn to troubleshoot. You know, you just mess around with stuff. Fortunately, I wish it was faster than that, or some more, something that is more magical and scientific about how you troubleshoot. I mean, you try things and you start to learn what works and what doesn't, what to stay away from. But what will happen here, I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but when you actually apply your map, sometimes it comes in and the color space is different. So it'll be set to sRGB and it should be set to raw. And I'm hoping that it does it so I can show you. I will show you where to fix it if you do encounter that issue. It may not be doing it on this file, and it might, I don't know. We're gonna see here. But on models, this model has been around for a while. I've used it for a while. On newer models done, most of the ones that when I demo, if that other one would have worked, you'll usually see this problem. It seems like TIFF and Targa, it doesn't matter because it's now applied the other map and it looks exactly the same. So TIFF versus Targa, no difference there. So let's look at where to fix it. So what will happen is you'll bring in the map and it'll be very aggressively shaded. You'll see a lot of real dark areas and a lot of really light areas. And you'll actually be able to see your seams. You will see your, oh, look at those hardened normals in there. That's not good. See that? You see the wireframe in there? That's because the high res wasn't softened. I'll have to fix that. But you'll actually see your UV seams baked into the map, not your wireframe. I don't want you to get confused with what we were talking about earlier. You'll see the football goalpost or wherever your seams are. If you notice those, you want to select your model. We're going to go down to material attributes. So I'm just bringing up the marking menu, material attributes. Hopefully you don't have a bunch of history. If you have a bunch of history on here, it's going to be harder to find. But you go all the way back to where you see the Lambert. And if you want to do this through the hypergraph or hypershader, you can do that. But once I go to the Lambert, if I go to bump mapping, you'll see file 3, and I'm going to follow the little rabbit hole, the little arrow. This is showing the input. Okay. So right here, this is how you reload. If you're finding that you've hit the 6 key and nothing's loading, you want to make sure that it's mapped correctly and it's sourcing correctly. This is also where you'll check if you correct anything on your map. When we go in and we paint in Photoshop, this is where you're going to resource it. You just hit reload or you point to its new physical location. But right here, color space. Now mine is locked out. And again, this is an older scene file, so I'm not sure what it's done. But in the newer ones, you'll be able to drop this down and you'll switch from sRGB to RAW. You're looking for RAW. Okay. And then once you click on the RAW button, it will shade it correctly and all of your seams will vanish, and you'll be able to it'll look the way it's supposed to look. Okay, that is something that I do great on. I look at it and how you applied your map, so that is something you will want to double check and make sure that it is fixed and loading properly. Okay, so this is working. Let's go ahead and fix it though. I'm gonna load it into Photoshop. I don't know why Photoshop's open. I don't think I was doing anything in Photoshop. I guess I was though. No, I guess I wasn't. I don't see anything there. So I'm just in Photoshop here. And I'm going to zoom in. I'm just going to take care of the lip here. You can clone and stamp. You can smudge. There's a lot of things you can do to correct this issue. I'm going to use smudge. Smudging isn't terrible. There we go. It does work out for small things like this. And I like it because I can kind of push like colors around. Can you correct bigger areas using this? I wouldn't recommend it. If it was something small like this, no big deal. But we are physically smudging and smearing the pixels, which will show up because if we've got a lot of high frequency details, wow, now my tablet's squeaking. It's just a squeaky world. That would be something I might say, you know what, I need to fix this manually, kind of find out what's going on, what's causing the problem. But little smudges here, I can push the color that's around it into that zone and kind of get things looking well enough. There we go. You hear that squeaking? It's crazy. That's just looking here. Sounds like I got a little mouse on my keyboard. Smudging is like it's magical. Just like what? You want to get rid of that? Bye. Bye. Just gonna smudge things. But you see, I can play around with this and actually finesse it into the shape or the color that I really am looking for. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that. And I would do this in other places. You know, over here, we'll fix one side. Now, in a seam situation, right? This will show up. So the back of the ear, because I messed with the seam now, it's going to show up because my pixels at that seam will not be the same. But for what we're doing, it's going to work out just fine. For stuff like this, I can either try and smudge that in, or we can get into cloning and stamping. Did I say that right? I think it sounded weird when I said it. You know, but we could try and say, all right, let's push that purple in a little bit more. But you'll notice this right here, this is not going to be as nice as I really want it to be because I'm blurring the pixels, right? These pixels are getting blurred as I move them around, and that's what you have to be cautious with. So a clone and stamp might be better. Just gonna go ahead and let's grab that. And what I found best with something like clone and stamp is you just kind of slowly work with it. I think I'm botching this up pretty good. And now we have more color information. I can really finesse it. And I won't really know if it worked until I go look at it. All right, so we'll go ahead and call that done. I'm going to save it. Okay, we'll minimize that, and we're going to go ahead and reload. Now I'm already right there with my reload, but just in case you're not, we'll focus here, here, and here. I'm going to go ahead and select it. Remember, right-click, material attributes, follow, bump mapping, reload. And you can look, okay, it looks a little better. But the lip there, you can see all that discrepancy on the lip is gone, whereas over here, we can still see it. Over here, no more. And up towards the ear, all gone. Over here, you can still see it. So it's just easier to me to fix little things like that in Photoshop than trying to mess around with that tool. You know, we're making forward progress as we go through. So that is the fixing up some stuff, right? We went through and reworked some topology today. We did the UVs and the normal map, and that completes the assignments there. Okay, so I'll leave you with that. We don't really need to talk much about the final submission because I made a video that walks you through the entire process of getting your files ready for the submission. But we will, again, focus on the hair. I will be moving the deadline to the Tuesday, right? Tuesday evening. So keep your eyes out for that. And I'll open it up for any final questions before we call it a day.
Can I stay on as I requested?
Yes, I have about 5 minutes we can do. All right.
Have a good day, guys.
Hey, y'all have a good one. Sorry for the late start, and I will see you on Full Sail Friday virtually. Wear your full sail gear. All right, so everybody, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and end this lecture. As always, have fun, get it done, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you on Friday.